Hey fam, how y'all doing? I'm gonna wait for a few to join on. So I just started. Let's see. Hey y'all, thanks for joining today. So let's just get right into the topic. I asked this question a few days ago. What does it mean to be a pick me? Because evidently, there's a growing amount of people who want to call me a pick me. So I'm like, okay, let's actually figure out what this means. Let's actually discuss the meaning of pick me because the first time I heard it, I was a little bit unsure. I didn't really know what it meant. To me, it didn't necessarily sound like a bad thing. I'm thinking pick me. Okay, that means I'm getting picked for something. So surely that can't be bad. But anyways, I decided to ask the audience. I wanted to see, okay, what does it mean to be a pick me? Let's actually figure this out. Let's get to the root of what this actually means. So I had a few comments, actually many comments, but here's a few of my favorites that I'm going to read to the audience, right? So I posted this, I think like 3 days ago. My question was, what does it mean to be a pick me? What does that mean? So here's one comment. It's a sign language term used by the sisterhood. That means it's here to make you feel ashamed about possessing the traits that marriage-minded men find desirable. That's one definition of a pick me. Another definition is you being honest about wanting a husband and happy with your man. Mad women hate that. That one I thought was hilarious because I'm like, that is actually facts. There is nothing that I think a man hater hates more than actually seeing a woman who likes her man or who is just doesn't hate men finds redeeming qualities in men. Like for some women, that just makes them completely upset. I don't know why, but it's a thing. Another definition, it means to display virtue which they could never attain, the ones grown men appreciate, and the man haters dislike. Another definition, anytime you go against the sisterhood mob in favor of black men, that equals a pick me. Another definition, in a nutshell, being a pick me is being against feminism and the sisterhood. Now, here's one that actually seemed like there was some historical accuracy to it, but also relevancy for today. Originally, a pick me was a chick who excessively used sex to get the attention and acceptance of a man. Nowadays, low quality females call females with common sense, a lot to bring to the table, accountability, high understanding of men, and wife material attributes, pick me's. So based upon these definitions, there is a lot. I think I got like a total of 67. One over here says it means a woman that most women hate and that all men across the board find desirable. So I got a few definitions, but what I came to understand, the way I've seen pick me used, at least in my life, is it seems to be any single time I say something to me that just seems logical or isn't really in favor or in favor of men or versus women. Anytime I say something to me that seems balanced, I'm called a pick me. Anytime I say something that's like, hey, you know what, this man maybe actually what he's saying is reasonable, or hey, men do have value, or hey, let's work together with men, let's work together with people in our community, evidently that makes me a pick me. And I can say, at least anecdotally in my life, pick me has come to mean a woman who finds that men actually do have value. A woman who is completely okay and comfortable with working with men. Somehow, this term pick me that I think used to actually mean a woman who was just so obsessed with male approval that she would do anything for it. I think that was the original definition, but now it has literally devolved to meaning a woman who actually just sees men as having value. It's devolved to that point. So my thing is, you know what? If pick me is associated with I don't know, me being picked, if me being pick me means that okay, I get along with men, or I see men as valuable, or I want to have conversations with men, I don't want to be a man hater, then okay, I am a pick me. I am a pick me. And I wanted to create this broadcast because I want to create a tribe of more pick me's. I want to have more women. I want to have more conversations with women who are tired of the man hating, who are tired of the bitter Bettys, who are tired of the let's sit down and just talk about how all men ain't this and they ain't that, and just sit around and just trash dudes. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in another, creating another YouTube page or creating more content dedicated to just bashing men, to just bashing the family structure. To me, that's exhausting. So I'm like, if me actually being pro relationship, if me saying, hey, I want to figure out how to work together with men, I want to figure out how can we rebuild the community, how can we, co-labor. If that's being a pick me, then hey, I am a pick me. And I want to create a tribe of pick me's. I want to create a tribe. I want to find a tribe of women who are interested in working with men, a tribe of women who are interested in figuring out how to come together and build, figure out how to come together and do things better. I'm not interested in the man hating. I'm not interested in the blame shifting and the pointing of the fingers and that he isn't doing that, they aren't doing that, therefore I don't need to do X, Y, and Z. That's exhausting to me. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. There's enough of that. And I think we have made a business, and I mean, I think there's money to be made off of, just content dedicated to man hating. There's money to be made off of content that is exclusively created to drive a wedge between the genders. And I'm tired of it. I don't find it enjoyable. I think it's damaging. I think it's damaging not only just to this American culture period, but it's especially damaging to Black communities. And I hate that things are so oftentimes positioned. Anytime I hear Black women, pushing for something in the media, or there's a narrative of supporting Black women, whether it's in businesses or whether it's, education, whatever, it's always juxtaposed against Black men. Always. It's never really done as if things are done in tandem or that, they're working together. It's always Black women are over here, Black women are being more successful, or Black women, they're leveling up, or they're outpacing Black men. Right? And then Black men are over here. It's always shown separately. We are always positioned against each other. And I don't think that's helpful. It's not helpful. For many reasons, I think. First of all, psychologically, it's not helpful. I mean, God himself said it's not good for man to be alone. I'm like, if the creator said that, the creator said, hey, it is not good for mankind to operate by themselves in an island, then why do we have this entire culture that is dedicated to telling women that, hey, you can do battle by yourself? And yes, you can. Many of us, we do bad by ourselves. And look, and I'm not saying just because, a person is single or they're in the place in their life or they're not in a relationship that means that they're a horrible individual. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying that the man hating, it's just exhausting. And the fact that anytime you have a woman or you have somebody that literally stands up and says something that's just illogical, I feel like I can just go and say, hey, you know what? Man, not horrible. Or, hey, you know what? Men don't suck. And then I'm called a pick me. Or I'm male identified. And I'm like, this is bizarre. Have we devolved so low? Have we really devolved to this place to where you strictly acknowledging the fact that 50% of the population has value, that now means you're a pick me, that now means you're some weird, horrible, desperate person? I'm like, what's going on mentally in our heads? Why are we here? Why have we gotten to this point? It looks like I have some comments coming through. I've never liked the Black woman against Black men thing. It is so childish and stupid. Yes, I completely agree. It's so dumb. It's not helping anybody. It's not helping anybody. And what's so crazy to me? Actually, I had this comment I saw like a day or two ago. It was a woman, she called me a pick me, and she's like, it's pick me's like you who are hurting the Black community. Pick me's like you who say all this stuff for Black men, yada, 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 yada. Meanwhile, this particular individual, from what I could tell, was very much a part of the divest movement, very much a part of divesting from Black men, divesting from the Black community to improve yourself. So I'm thinking, okay, you're judging me. You're saying that my behavior is negatively impacting the Black community. But you, at the same token, are pushing an agenda to leave the Black community and to create mixed kids that you're going to complain about. So me as a woman, me as a Black woman who wants to be in a relationship with a Black man and create Black children, I'm more detrimental than a person who decides to marry outside of the Black community and create mixed kids that you're not going to go turn around and complain about and say they're colorist. I'm like, how? The logic to that to me is just, I don't understand the logic. I can't follow the logic. I'm like, that makes absolutely no sense. And to me, that's the problem. Again, anytime I feel like, and it's sad that it's within the Black community specifically, but anytime someone in the Black community or a woman in the Black community is like, hey, this Black man is doing something good. You know, for example, I did that video a few days ago where I was just sharing my perspective of, you know, what I noticed from, you know, Colin Kaepernick and the heat he was coming under because of the ad that he created, and how I thought, you know, personally, what he did, it was going to upset, no matter what he did, it was going to upset somebody. If he had a light-skinned woman, if he had a dark-skinned woman, if he had light and dark-skinned women, if he had men, like, no matter how he portrayed it, he was going to upset somebody. And that was essentially, that was the whole point of my video. And of course I got comments, oh, well, you're male identified. Oh, you just want to protect the Black man and he's not even really Black. And women were asking him for anything. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, you're not even listening to the point of my video. The point of my video is that what he did exposes how broken down the community is, because the fact that we are so quick to judge, you know, the artwork that he did, we're so quick to judge that. The bigger point is that he's fighting for a place where people can try to feel safe. That's the bigger point. So why don't we rally around that issue versus getting all riled up on whether or not dark-skinned women are portrayed in bathrobes to be feminine or not? Like, to me, I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. And so again, this was the whole point. I'm just like, as these women were insulting me and calling me pick-me's and mammies, because evidently I said something that was in favor of a Black man. I don't know. That's the way they saw it. To me, I wasn't really in favor of anybody. I was just being like, hey, we should find out how to work together. But in their eyes, you know, I'm favoring the Black man. Therefore, I'm a pick-me. And I'm like, again, if a pick-me means I'm a woman that wants to work together with men, wants to find ways to build a community, wants to get out of this bitter, Betty, man-hating mindset, then call me a pick-me. And you know what, people? Yes, please subscribe to this channel, like, tag people. Men, I need your help. If you know of other women who are tired of the man-hating, if you know of other people who want to get out of the just bitter Betty monologue, and they want to have different conversations, they want to have productive conversations about how to build each other up, about how to build men up, about how to build families up. If you know women like that, I'd love to connect with them. Please share my content. Let's find those women. Let's start having these kinds of conversations, because we've all heard enough of the bashing, of the man bashing. We've all heard enough of the he ain't doing this, he ain't doing that. These dusties over here, Black men don't build, men are horrible. Like, we've all heard enough of that. I'm tired of it, and I'm sure there's plenty of women who are. And so I'm like, okay, for those women who are tired of it, let's talk. Let's come together. Let's figure out how to build. Let's figure out how to get away from that narrative and separate ourselves from that garbage and actually do things that are productive. Because men out here are tired. Men out here are tired of being painted as the monsters. Men out here are tired of being painted as the, you know, as nothing, as worth nothing. And I'm not saying, there's obviously guys out there that have their challenges. There are women out there, you know, that have their challenges. But I think men as a whole are just tired of there always being a reason that they're not good enough. And I'm tired of hearing it. Like I said, there's a way that you can have, there's a way that you can express frustration or express, you know, constructive criticism, but not, you know, degrade, not tear people down. And I feel like we've gotten so comfortable with tearing people down just in general that after a while it's just like, this is exhausting. I can't. Okay, looks like I got some more comments in. Dark skinned women are the most beautiful men in the planet. Thank you. God bless you. Tall, dark women are the best. Yeah, you don't hear that anytime you hear, anytime there is a black man that's like, hey, I like black women. No one wants to talk about that. Everyone loves to talk about that 1% of dudes, that 1% of black men who actually they do prefer a Becky or they do prefer some light skin. Everybody wants to hyper focus on that. But when there's men who are just like, hey, like I love women in my community. I'm attracted to women in my community. Nobody wants to hear about those men, or those men are besties. So it's a lose-lose situation, and I want to do better. So yes, people, if you're on there, please hit the subscribe button. I just got the ability to do super chat, so please send in some love and support. Send in your super chat. You can also find me on Venmo or Cash App, ChezCharde. I want to do more content like this. I want to do some more collaborations with women, especially who are interested in changing the narrative, who are interested in just building a better platform and building an alternative, just an alternative dialogue. So all the things out there aren't man hating. So, if you like this, please, like I said, like, subscribe, introduce me to other women out there who want to hear something different, who don't want to just go on YouTube and just be bombarded with women talking about how trashy men are. If they want to actually hear an alternative discussion, please share their content. I want to talk to these women. I want to have conversations. Yes, no, nothing wrong with loving dark-skinned women. No need to tear down light women. Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, me personally, I love all shades, and I have many friends of different, of just different ethnic backgrounds, and I feel like I can look at a beautiful dark-skinned woman and look at a lighter Chinese woman and a browner skinned Palestinian woman and be like, wow, you guys are all beautiful. Like I truly love how diverse people are. Like I love diversity. I love seeing different shades. I love seeing those aspects of beauty celebrated for who they are. And I think you being a beautiful dark-skinned woman doesn't overshadow someone who's lighter skinned and also beautiful, or vice versa. That's just my personal opinion. Now, I do know generally people have their preferences. Like each guy has a type, and I think they should be able to have their type. Men should be able to like who they like, just like women should be able to like who they like. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I also don't think, again, just because one woman is beautiful and she has a particular look, that doesn't have to overshadow the unique beauty that other woman has. So that's just my personal opinion. But anyways, like I said, hey, if you're a woman and you want to be picked, if you're like, you don't want to be on this, strong, single, independent woman trope for your entire life, if you're tired of the man hating, or you just want to hear something different, let's talk. Follow me. Men, if you are interested in women who actually want to work with you, if you have sisters, daughters, cousins, friends, you're like, hey, you know what? You need to learn something different. Or they're interested in changing their thought process. They're interested in having constructive conversations. Please share my content with them, because like I said, I'm tired of the man hating. I'm tired of just hearing the same old stuff. It's not helpful. And it's sad that being picked is negative now. That's sad to me. That's sad. It's sad that being a woman that has attributes that are necessary to build a family is now seen as like an insult. To me, that's actually kind of strange. And that's why I'm like, okay, so if me being wife material, if me being picked, if that's an insult, hey, pick me all day, every day. I will buy the shirt. I will wear the shirt. Like I will build a tribe of pick-me's, because there are plenty of men out there who are just like, I want to find a pick-me. I want to find a woman who desires to be picked. I want to find a woman who desires to be a woman. Someone who doesn't want to compete against me or doesn't see me as their enemy, but just wants to work with me. And I'm like, I think there needs to be more of this. So, okay, looks like I got some more content coming through. Kevin and Sales, thank you. Again, you can find me on Cash App, Venmo, ChezCharde. If you want to support the cause, I really appreciate all of you guys. And my hope is to be able to bring you guys more content like this, because I think we need to really start to change the narrative that men and women can't get together and that men and women can't build and work together. We absolutely can, but we first have to understand that we have value. And we absolutely do. Okay, thank you for taking the time to do this. Much needed. Being in a relationship is hard enough without all the gender hate. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It really is. You know, I had a conversation, a really really insightful conversation yesterday with this is actually one of the women who has been just I guess mentoring me, for lack of a better term, in my engagement process. And so she's been married for almost 40 years. If you haven't had a chance to check out the interview, I would highly recommend it because she just dropped some gems in there. But she was even telling me about her challenges of being a independent career driven woman, and how she had to change her mindset, and how she had to really embrace her femininity in order to be a helpmeet, in order to work together with her husband. And they have a beautiful marriage. They've been married for almost 40 years, have three adult children. They've been pastoring at churches together for a long time, and they're very happy. They're very happy. But she talked to me about honoring and respecting your partner, loving them, not seeing them as their enemy, but seeing them as as someone to work with. And instead of I think so much this happens a lot where, because men and women are different, we really are. And I know there's this whole kind of gender, there's this whole push to kind of erase genders and have people be however they define. But at the end of the day, women who are born with a womb and men who are born men, like, we are biologically different. The way we process information is different. The way we talk is different. Our needs, what we're attracted to is different. Men are attracted to femininity. Men are simple. They are simple. They just want a pretty girl that's nice to get along with. That's really it. Like, a pretty girl that's easy and nice to get along with and cooperative. That's all they want. That's it. It's like not anything it's too difficult. Women, we tend to want more. We want the security. We want the emotions. We want the emotional makeup. We want to have the conversations. We want the fire. We want the eye. Like, we want all of those different things. And even a recent poll I did where I was talking to women, I'm like, okay, what attributes do you want in a man? And overwhelmingly, I think it was like 63% said they number one attribute was a man that, had a good career in income. Men, that when I asked men the same thing, career and income was literally the last thing. That was like the last thing on the poll. And so even down to what we are attracted to, it's different. And the thing about it is, I think right now we live in this culture where our differences they're positioned as negatives. They're positioned as, oh, he's different, therefore he's my enemy. Or he talks this way, therefore he's my enemy. Or she talks that way, she's my enemy. And I'm like, if you go in a relationship already with the mindset of this man is my enemy, or if you go in a relationship with this mindset of this woman is my enemy because of X, Y, and Z, you're never going to be able to work together. But I think if we start to understand, hey, we are created differently. Most men that I know, they tend to be they're more big thinkers. Not to say women are too. I think they can be in a certain capacity. But I've noticed it's about men where it's like about vision, about the long-term plan, about, thinking things logically. Because men build society. Men have built society. I mean, we can look at different civilizations. And at the end of the day, men and women were working together, but men were establishing societies in certain ways, establishing structures, establishing norms. Women were generally the ones, responsible for culture, raising the kids, teaching about the values, about the morals and the ethics. And so everyone had their place. And there wasn't a competition because each man, each woman recognized who they were, their identity. They recognized what they did well. And so instead of it being a competition, they were co-laboring. They were working together to build. It wasn't about, oh, well, this man is doing this thing over here, so I need to be doing what he's doing. Or, oh, well, he's doing that, I need to do it better. It wasn't a competition. They were co-laboring. And that was a beautiful thing about, the interview I had with her yesterday. She was sharing with me how at first she didn't want to submit to her man. Sometimes she didn't want to be in charge or lead things when she knew internally it was his position or he was better at an area. And she said as soon as she recognized that she didn't need to be in competition with her man. She didn't need to try to overstep him, but that there was safety in her recognizing her shortcomings, and that there was safety in him also recognizing his shortcomings. then they could work together. Then she could do her part and he could do his part. And it was a beautiful thing. Thank you, as IB Moore Ward, for your super chat. Thank you so much. I see you. Also, thank you, Gregory Lewis, for your Cash App. I really appreciate you. You guys, if you just tuned on, you can find me on Venmo or Cash App, ChezCharde. And we're having a conversation. We are having a conversation because I am tired of the man hating. As I've said, I'm tired of the man hating. I'm tired of the content out there that is specifically dedicated to driving a wedge between men and women where there doesn't need to be one. And so I'm interested in having more and more conversations about how can we learn to work together? How can women actually get out of this, escape this man-hating narrative? How can we get out of this idea that men are our enemies and learn to work together and learn to co-labor and learn to respect how men are made and learn to respect how we are made and to embrace that? Because our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers, they knew this. They weren't fighting over basic things. They knew their place. They understood their limitations. And I think as soon as we can understand our limitations and also our strengths, then we can do better. Then we can actually build. It doesn't have to be a competition of who has what, because we both have it, because we're working as a team, because we're building communities. And and that's the biggest issue. That's the biggest issue with this man hate, this bitter Betty syndrome that I that I see. Okay, looks like I have some more comments coming through. Speak your truth, Queen. I am so ecstatic that more women like yourself, Unique Marie, Love Dorsey, April Mason, and a few others are holding our sisters accountable. Much unconditional love. Yes, thank you. Like I said, I think there's a lot of women out here who are they're tired. They're just like, this is not working for me. This is not working for me anymore. I'm tired. The strong single, I can do bad all by myself. Yes, you can, and yes, you will. You will do bad by yourself. You will. And I think there's some of us who are just like, I'm over it. I don't want to do this anymore. Like I've seen a generation of this, and I don't want those results. And I would much rather figure out how do I work with the people around me versus waste my energy in. Because it's so much. It requires a whole lot of energy to just hate. That requires an exorbitant amount of energy to consistently hate or berate somebody or a group of people like that. That's exhausting. And I'm like, imagine if the amount of energy you put towards hating people or hating men specifically, because that tends to be a popular thing. The amount of energy you put towards that. What if you actually put that energy towards being constructive? Towards, okay, how do I communicate better? Towards, okay, how do I don't know, work on my self-esteem? Okay, how do I self-care? Like, what if you took that same amount of energy and put that into something constructive? How much better would things be? Okay, looks like I got to come. I'm a Black woman and wholeheartedly stand behind you. I'm tired of the Black man hate train on YouTube. Thank you, Bree. I think it's Bree Lax 44. Thank you. And like I said, if you have friends, if you got cousins, I don't know, like sisters, whoever, please share the concept, because I really, like I said, there's enough content out there, and I think there just needs to be other options. I don't think it's even accurate for a person to go on YouTube and all they see is man hating. Like you should have a choice. If you want to choose to be a man hater, cool. But there should also be enough content, enough options out there to just be like, hey, I don't hate men, or hey, no, I don't want to be bitter Betty. No, I don't want to, be the strong, single, independent superwoman trope. I don't want to do that. I want to learn how to work with the community. I want to see the value in the man. Like there should be those kinds of options out there. And like I said, that's the kind of community I want to create. I want to create a community where we can learn to work together, because that's how civilizations actually worked. Successful civilizations actually work when people are working together, not when they are wasting their time fighting over things that they're not even the same at. As a woman, I don't have the same capacity as a man, and I can admit that. And I can embrace that. And I'm okay with that. I do not have the same capacity as a man. I don't think the same way as a man. Like, I do not. And I don't know why. I don't know why some of us are so hell bent on trying to be the same. Like literally trying to be the same with men. Literally. Like trying to compete in spaces where it's like, this actually doesn't have to be a competition. It's like apples and oranges. again, that's exhausting. That's exhausting. So, like I said, this whole gender war nonsense. I'm like, we got to do something better. We really got to change the conversation because men are tired and women are tired. Now, I mean, if you're a woman and you're dedicated to man hating and that's just what you want to do, I'm probably going to get on your nerves. And that's cool. Like, you don't have to agree with me, but yeah, you probably don't want to follow me. You probably aren't going to want to see my content because I'm going to aggravate you. But like I said, if you're a woman or somebody who's like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of this. I was on my man hating stage or my man hating phase, but now I see that men are actually not that bad. Now I see that men were actually responsible for building that civilization that we're in. Now I see that black men were largely responsible for helping us to get out of slavery. Now I see that black men were at the forefront of the civil rights movement. That black men are responsible for a lot of these different inventions and stuff that we have. Wow, now that I see that black men was responsible for me being alive, if we want to have those kinds of conversations, then we can talk. Follow me. We can talk. We can talk about how do we change this narrative? How do we get out of this self hate? See, and that's another thing too. What I've noticed, it's so interesting to me to see how dedicated some people can be to just literally hating themselves or hating things that look like them. It's really interesting. I was listening earlier today to O'Shea Duke Jackson. I love listening to his channel. Like, his stuff is just hilarious to me. But he did this video on, I think, Naomi Campbell, who I think evidently just adopted a baby or something, and her baby ended up being white. And we all know that Naomi Campbell, there is not a drop of European blood in her body, or so it appears. But she adopted a white baby, and so his whole premise is like, if you look at her track record, she personally seems to be a person like, she always hates on Black History Month. She's always hating on Black people. She's always hating on things that are related to, just African Americans, period. He's like, in my humble opinion, she just doesn't like being Black. So we can't now go and look at her decisions and be surprised. Like, just based upon my humble opinion, he's saying, I just don't think she likes being a Black woman. And so she's going to make choices accordingly. And so I do think it's important to understand that there are certain women who one, either they don't like being a woman, or they don't like being Black, or they don't like themselves. And so because of that, the only thing they have to give off, the only energy that they can give off is negativity, is self-hating, because they do hate themselves. So those kinds of people, for me, I'm like, okay, I will pray for you. I pray that God touches your heart. I pray that you can do better. But it's also not worth wasting time, because those kinds of people tend to live and thrive off of the internet. They tend to live and thrive off of hating content. And they also love to go onto pages that want to talk about positive things and call women like me pick-me's. And so, like I said, I think we just have to be mindful of, we just gotta be mindful of those who aren't worth, I don't even want to say they're not worth investing the time, but they're so lost in their self-hate that it's only going to take God touching them. It's only going to take some divine something for them to get out of their delusion. And so, yeah, there's people like that, unfortunately. And I've just recognized, you just are dedicated to your level of self-hate, and logic will not be able to convince you otherwise. Logic will not be able to convince you otherwise. So, like I said, that kind of woman is not going to like this page. But yeah, those who aren't, they're like, okay, let's have a logical discussion. Let's actually start to break down some of these different lies that we were told. Like, one thing I never really understood, it's like, okay, so on one end, right, Black women are outpacing men, right? Or women are outpacing men in like education, they're opening more businesses, all these different things, right? But then on the other token, we're talking about gender wage gap. And it's like, oh, well, we're being underpaid, we're not being compensated. So I'm like, okay, so which is it? Is it that you Black women you're outpacing these men in spades and you're just making so much more money than them? Or is it gender wage gap? Is it you're being underpaid for your services? Like, what is it? Because it can't be both. It can't be both. And it's the whole thing, protect Black women, or Black men don't build, which is a very, very popular one. Black men don't build. And I'm just like, have you done any history? Like, are you completely unaware of literally anything and everything? I mean, this entire nation was built off of the backs of black men. How that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I don't want to be rude, but I'm like, that's that's so false. How could you say that? I'm like, everything in this nation was literally built from off of the backs of black. So why would you say that? Knowing history, how could you actively say that? And I mean, there's just so many illogical things that we've heard that I'm like, this isn't really helping anyone. Let's just think about this. Let's just sit down and let's just try to think just a little bit. And I do understand, generally speaking, and I can say this as a woman, sometimes we can tend to be a little bit more emotional. And I accept that. I love being a woman. I love talking to women, and so I understand that sometimes we can be a little bit more emotionally driven, but that doesn't mean that we still can't have logical conversations. Now, there are some women, like I said, those who are just dedicated to their delusion. Logic won't penetrate any of the delusion. They just will not accept it. But for those of us who actually want to do better, yeah, we can. We can talk logically. We can really sit down and think, what's going on here? What's going on? But black men are not building flourishing communities now. Yeah, I will respectfully disagree. There are certainly black men and black women who right now are just, they're pretty much playing into the trope. Like, it's just, I hate to say it, but it's like we kind of see these old bad tropes about our community being reinforced even in the media. But that doesn't mean that there's not black men out there, obviously, who are in college, who are doctors. I mean, we had recently those few black doctors, the one who went to Mississippi, who literally moved to Mississippi and was dedicating his life to dealing with under served black people in Mississippi, who were basically, they were being taken advantage of because they didn't have health care. They were and their limbs are being chopped off. And so he moved there. He could have stayed in LA and made his money, but he chose to move to Mississippi in a rather prejudiced area, in that particular area, which is prejudice, and help underserved, uneducated black people who were being taken advantage of. And I mean, there's plenty of inventions that we have today that are the results of black men. Now, we know we live in a community where, the whitewashing of history is a very real thing. And so there's many things that have been done in the past and are continue to be done today that aren't always given, the person responsible for it isn't always given the proper recognition. But I think anytime we just make broad sweeping statements such as all black women are like this, or all black men are like this, or all people are like this, or all men, like, I think anytime we just make broad sweeping statements, we kind of get in the danger zone, because while there are general things that are true, I refuse to believe that there's ever an entire group of people that's all bad. You know what I mean? I don't really think that's possible. As a black man, thank you so much for your content. Some women channels are also playing into women distrust and hatred of black men for profit. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Rosie Harris, I would love to convo with you. Yeah, send me an email. Definitely send me an email. But like I said, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but I just happen to know too many productive black men who are building today. You're talking in America and internationally. I know too many in my life for me to be able to deny that. If I was to go and say, oh, black men are building today, that means I would have to deny my personal experience. So that's why I can say as a woman, no, that's just not true, because I have seen in my life countless evidence today, of men who are trying to do better. Now, again, that does not, I'm not trying to overlook the fact that, yeah, there have been men in the past who have made bad decisions. Same with women. We've been told a lot of bad things. We've been just told so much junk. So I don't want to overlook that. But like I said, I'm not gonna stand up here and just act as if, people in our community have made no contribution to America, have made no contribution whatsoever, because that's strictly not true. We wouldn't even have the opportunities that we have if it wasn't for some, black men and black women doing things. We wouldn't be where we are today. So, what are black men building? A couple of things. You know what? I'm glad you to say that, because I'm actually I'm going to be starting a series literally called Black Men Built That, to just highlight, different things that black men have done within the community, contributions that they've actually made, um, so that we can actually have these kinds of discussions. And let me see. So actually, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull up something so I can answer your questions a little bit more. Let me see. Okay, let me pull up my research. Uh, Sorry, I'm over here pulling up my notes. I love Black women. Yeah, no, I love being a woman. What is your email? Because I would love to talk to you about that. Yeah, I have my all my information. You should be able to find it on my about page. Actually, I probably need to update it because I've had a few people, but you can find me. It's Charde at ChezCharde.com. That's where you should be able to send me information. I'm also going to try to update that on my about page on my YouTube. So hopefully we won't be able to have we won't have to have these conversations. So yeah, so like I said, I'm actually creating a series called Black Men Built that looks at different people and the contributions that Black men have made to society. Like for example, Jesse Russell, his inventions were actually integral to what we have today as a smartphone. Like without his invention, we would essentially not have like smartphones. We wouldn't have some of the technology that we have today. And there's just little things like that I think on a larger scale and on a smaller scale that if we look back, we're like, wow, no, these men were doing things. We know obviously Elijah McCoy, the inventor of the automatic lubrication system, that was pivotal in this construction of modern railways. I mean, hence the term like the real McCoy. But like I said, I'm creating a series on this right now because I think it's important for us to know not only what's been done, okay, in American history, not only in American history, but just even in ancient history, just understanding like, okay, here are some of the civilizations or here are some of the contributions that just people of color have made to modern civilization period. I think that's going to really kind of help. I think that's going to help change this narrative that we have that says our people have never made contributions or our men have never made contributions that are significant. Because I think if we have that idea that's really ingrained in our subconscious, I, I think those kinds of ideas are sometimes actually what does fuel the self hate. And I think it'll be interesting for me just to kind of engage with you in some of these topics. And so, yeah, I think just having this conversation is showing me that this is definitely something that we need to, or that I want to continue to address more on a larger scale and really talk a little bit more about the historical and even the present day implications so that there can be a little bit more like just, I don't know whether it's self pride, but just a little bit more belief in the capabilities that we have. Um, so yeah, that I think, yeah, you guys have given me some good ideas. Um, Yeah, okay, Ray Adams. I just built a school, apartments, and better relationships with our youth. I coach and mentor at the junior high. Positive vibes, brothers and sisters. Yeah, that's a prime example. I mean, I know a few men right now who are, um, and yeah, I mean, I want to kind of be mindful because I know some of the businesses are up and running. But yeah, I mean, I know of a few black men who are running international businesses based in here and based in Nigeria. A few who have different connections within, Nigeria, Ghana, working on like, education and just really trying to expand the understanding of the diaspora. I'm being a little bit more vague right now just for just because I have to. But like I said, I think in the upcoming months, this sounds like this is a need. It sounds like this is a huge need, and I think maybe it could be a really good discussion for us to all learn and to all come to the table with our concerns, or maybe just share some information. So I am definitely going to be doing that. But just to kind of get back to what I was saying before, this is Anita link up with Jessica X. Yes, Black Rach, if you know her, she I think shared one of my videos a few days ago, and I've been trying to get in contact with her. I haven't had a chance, but if anybody knows Jessica X, or this happens to speak with her, let her know. I would love to collab. I would love to collab because her content is pretty dope. I agree. This is an important topic. Time to make Black excellence great again. Yeah, no, definitely. It's really important, especially for our children. You know, and I remember as a girl, and this is sad now thinking back to it, but I remember as a girl in school because all what I learned, all what I learned was about Europe. You know, there was this time where I came to this conclusion that all of the great aspects of civilization were from white people, or and I didn't see myself, I didn't see my ancestry as coming from anything great. And at the time, I guess I didn't understand the implications at that time. But I just, you know, I remember going through history classes and learning about these different things. And even when we look at like Egypt, right, and we're looking at places that obviously had a black and brown presence to it, I couldn't see myself there. I couldn't visualize my family there. I couldn't visualize my ancestry there because everything was painted white. And so as a little girl, that impacted me. That impacted the way I saw myself. That impacted the way I connected with family, with friends. Even impacted the way I connected with God. All of those, all of my life was impacted based upon this notion of I don't come from a great people. And it's sad, it's sad to say that, it's sad to say that because I know that there's still people today, there's still young children today that have that idea because they're not being told the full story. They're not being told of, you know, why they can be pride, they can have pride in how God made them, why they can be, you know, can be grateful for the way their skin looks, or grateful for their skin color, or grateful for the men in their community, the great things their men have done. There's no pride associated with any of their lineage. All they see, all they hear about is a struggle, or all they hear about is slavery, as if our entire, you know, that's like our entire the entire history of the black and brown person is just, you know, 400 years. As if there's not information before that, and there's not even information after that that we can be proud about. So like I said, I think this is, you know, some things that are near and dear in my heart, just because I know personally the way it impacted me, especially being in an environment that was, at the time, I was like the only black kid in classrooms. And so, you know, you have that experience and you compound that with what you're learning, and you don't see yourself in these environments. You don't hear yourself in these environments. You go outside and you're seeing families and you're not in, you know, you're not fitting in. And it can create, you know, it can create a lot of different disconnect. And even those who do grow up in like all black communities, they're still learning the same education. They're still learning, they're still being told one side of the story. And oftentimes that side is not even historically true. Like some of us growing up, you know, grew up hearing, okay, George Washington never told a lie. And we know that that's absolutely false. Like, and so just even the history we do learn half the time is just not necessarily, it's not even on point. Anyways, for those of you guys who have joined, please like, subscribe, tag people, send in your love, support, your super chats. You can also find me on Venmo and Cash App at ChezCharde. And as I said before, if you guys are tuning in now, I'm interested in creating a platform where we can have some constructive conversations, because I'm tired of the man hating. I know men are tired of the man hating. I'm sure they are exhausted of it. And there's women out there who are just like, okay, you know, I don't, you know, I love you, Bitter Betty. Or I love you, Auntie. I love you, whoever, but like, you're not helping me. My single upset friends, or my single, you know, bitter friends, you are not helping me find a healthy relationship, or you are not helping me move forward in my pursuit of love. So I need to find alternative methods. And if you know women who are interested in finding alternative methods, if you know people who are tired of the same old results they're getting, which is bitterness and sadness, and then a rom-com, and then and followed by a YouTube video that's filled of trash and hate towards men. If they're tired of that, if you know women who are tired of that, connect them to me, please. Share my content with them. I would love to speak with them. I would love to speak with them. Because I think there needs to be more content like this. We need to have more conversations like this, and we need to promote more people like this. We need to promote more positive. There's enough promotion of negativity out there. There really is. There's enough promotion of you know, of man hating and even woman hating. Like I said, I mean, there's so many men who are tired out there that now they're just like, they're returning the favor. Like, okay, we've spent so many decades hearing how either, you know, dumb we are, we're portrayed as bumbling idiots on television, or we're portrayed as simps, or we're portrayed as, you know, criminals. Like, we're just so tired of being misrepresented. Now we're about to push it back to you. Now we're going to talk about your hair hats. Now I'm going to talk about how overweight you are. For some of you guys who over here talking about, I want a 6-figure man, but you're not, willing to stay healthy. Like, this is what men are saying. They're like, okay. Like, if this is what it is, okay, I'm gonna join you then. I'm gonna join you in this game, and we're gonna talk about you too. And so it's like, these men are pushing back. And I was even talking about this earlier today, where it's like, honestly, I feel like most dudes, especially, okay, let's just be real. Black men, I think, are the most forgiving when it comes to even body image. They really are, because I know plenty of black men who have dated and married women that may be considered, curvaceous, may be considered overweight. Like, I feel like black men have some of the most accommodating beauty standards. Like, honestly, even more so in other cultures. And I even talked to one of my good friends. She's a white girl, and she's just like, yeah, like white. She's like, white dudes, they will trash you if you are overweight. Like, they do not care. They will be like, you need to get in a diet. Like, you need to stop eating those Twinkies. Like, they will trash you. But I'm like, I feel like in the in Black culture, we're just a lot more, I think, accommodating. And I've noticed now, maybe in the Black or the Negro manosphere, where there's more of a talk or more of an emphasis on weight. But I honestly feel like that has just more to do with the fact that there's just so many women who are disagreeable. Because I'm like, I feel like if these same women, that the 80% of African American women who may be considered overweight, if they just decided to be agreeable or just to work with these dudes and stop with the man hating, I think many of them could be wiped up easy. Like, at least from what I've heard, or what I've seen, like, a lot of these dudes are like, yeah, I mean, of course they want a woman that they're attracted to, but they're not as intimidated. Like, they're really not as intimidated. Like, okay, she's a few pounds overweight, it's whatever. Like, if she's thick in the right places, that's cool. But the only reason we're even having this conversation now about weight is because there's just been such this push towards, I don't want no dusty, I don't want no broke dude. All these broke dudes, men need to have this amount of money. And it's like, I feel like the only reason I'm hearing such a response, even as far as weight is concerned in the Black community, is because women have turned around and been like, okay, we don't want you anymore. The men that maybe 10, 15, even 20 years ago they would have dated, now that they're too good for. And these men are like, okay, so if you are going to disqualify me because of your pocketbook, therefore I can now disqualify you because of your weight. But we wouldn't be having these conversations, I think, if we were just working together. If we were just like, okay, like, this is where I'm at, this is where you're at. Okay, let's go. Let's figure out how to work together. Let's figure out how to build. So, yeah, no, you're right about the brace yourself for criticism and doxing. Yeah, I've already gotten some of the criticism, some of the pick me. I mean, I'll literally post, like, I did one post about my hair. I was like, oh yeah, like, length check, and a person came and called me all kinds of pick me's and all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, I actually have no idea what this has to do with my hair, but okay. Like, if is me talking about my hair, does that now make me a mammy? Like, I'm so confused. So, like I said, certain people are just going to be hateful because they just don't like themselves, but that's okay. Okay, it's a broke dude to me means he is lazy with no job or income. I hear you, but honestly, I mean, in my humble opinion, that's not most guys. Like, I don't know most guys who are just out there, like, just not trying to work. Like, I mean, if you live in America, like, you have to work. Like, there's not even really a way to get around it. And it's harder for, like, I honestly feel like it's harder for guys to be lazy. Like, women, just as far as, like, who has access to things, like, if you're a single mom, you have different programs and different stuff like that. But I honestly think it's harder for a man to make it off of being lazy than it is a woman, just because there's more programs available to single mothers. There's more programs available to women. So I don't feel like I see, at least in my personal life, I don't see so many men being like, oh, I'm just so lazy, that's why I'm broke. Like, people are working hard. Like, I mean, we're in a pandemic and people are working hard, but there's also many people struggling because we live in a very difficult economy. Like, we had a pandemic. You know what I mean? There's hardworking people in a pandemic. People working in Uber, Lyft, day in and day out, working many, 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 many hours, and they're not lazy by any means. But you're not going to be a billionaire driving Lyft. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I don't I don't really buy this idea. There are certainly dudes out there who are lazy, and there are certainly females out there who are lazy. So I'm not going to sit here and say that doesn't exist. But I do think it's a little bit harder for you as a man to make it and be lazy, because there's not as many programs out there that I think are available. Just in my humble opinion, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please let me know. If you know other sources that favor men not working or favor men, being quote unquote lazy, then please let me know. But as far as I'm concerned, that's not really the case. But anyways, like I said, it's time to make a change. It's definitely time to make a change. So any of you guys who are here, again, if you haven't liked, please like, subscribe to this channel, tag people, share my information. And like I said, I want to talk. I want to work, especially with women, so we can talk about how do we create a different space? How do we create an alternative space than what's been out there for a very, very long time? Those women who are interested in being wives. I'm going to continue to have more women, women who've been married for decades, talk about their experience, housewives, even career women or career, moms. Like I want to talk to different women who are living their life, who are being successful, who are having fun, still being feminine, still operating in their femininity, still operating in their, who they are as a woman, but doing it successfully, because I think we need to see more of that. I will say one other thing, and again, I'm probably gonna post this separately because this is a powerful excerpt. But the interview I had yesterday with the elder, if you will, and I asked her a simple question. I said, okay, so in your opinion, can a woman can she seek after career and love at the same time? Because, so often as this woman, the excuse becomes, oh, I can't be in a relationship because I'm busy, or because of college, or because of my job, or whatever. So generally speaking, a pursuit of a career, leveling up, securing the bag becomes a reason you can't be in a relationship. So I asked her this question. I'm like, what do you think? And she's just like, are you kidding me? Absolutely. And she's like, honestly, you should pursue both at the same time. And then she goes on to explain how, because of her husband, because of her intimacy with her husband, and literally her sexual intimacy with her husband, she's like, literally, my sexual intimacy with my husband and my relationship with my husband, it made me more successful at work. It made me I got better deals. She was a salesperson. She's like, I would get better deals. I would work more efficiently. I would land more clients. The more in relationship I was with my husband. She's like, I can't say I fully understand it, but I just started to recognize that was a key aspect in my success. So she's like, yes, woman, you absolutely should. And then she starts breaking down the different benefits of not only a woman being in a relationship with a man, but like them being active together and consistently being intimate and consistently having that communication. And she's just like, yeah, woman, you absolutely can. And you should. Like, you shouldn't put off one for another. And honestly, if you do decide to pursue both, you're probably going to be more successful in the long run. And that spoke to me. That spoke to me so much, because I'm like, again, that's just nothing. That's something that I heard. Something that I heard, and I think that's why we need to start having these conversations. I think women deserve to at least hear, the alternate route. You know what I mean? They deserve to know the different options out there. Now, if you choose to do maybe what you've been told, or if you choose, to pursue your career and to put off relationships, or if you choose to not trust men and to see them as the enemy or whatever, hey, you have every right to do that. And I'm not going to sit here and judge you. But if you don't really want to buy into the mainstream narrative, or if you want to consider whether or not there are alternative routes, and that it's possible to be feminine and also successful, or it's possible to still love your husband and still love your kids and still be a loving wife, and that not have to impact, who you are. If you're not afraid of losing yourself by being in a relationship, because, there's some women who have this idea that like, oh, they get in a relationship and then they're going to be controlled by their man and X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, that certainly happens, but that generally happens if you choose the wrong person. You know what I mean? So if you want to remove the fear associated with men, or if the fear associated with being in a relationship, period, and we want to get out of just all of these theories and all of these bad in just useless conversations and actually get some experience, okay, let's talk. Let's have some conversations. Because like I said, I want to continue to do this. I want to continue to create a platform to do this. Talk about real life, talk about mothering, talk about submission, talk about, submission to marriage, talk about engage, what does it mean to be engaged? What does it mean to prepare to be a wife? Not just this big wedding, but okay, after that, or what does it mean to be in a relationship long term and it be healthy? How do you communicate? Men and women communicate differently. How do you do that effectively? These are these are the different kinds of things we need to talk about. Cooking. How do you cook? Women, do you know how to cook? And if you don't know how to cook, then what setup do you have? You know what I mean? Like, this is what we need to talk about. Because unfortunately, some of our elders, I hate to say it, some of the people in our community who should be teaching us, some of the generations ahead of us who should be teaching us and showing us how to do things, how to raise our kids, they're too busy still trying to secure the bag, or they're too busy still trying to compete with women twice their age for high value men. And it's actually really sad. I wish it wasn't the case, but I guess I've just seen too many channels. I know some of these level up channels are literally ran by women in their late 40s and 50s who are talking to, children, talking to young women about leveling up. And I'm like, why aren't you talking to them about like how to raise a family? Why aren't we having conversations about how to raise kids to be productive citizens? Like, are we still really talking about how to get a man with as much money as possible while we're in a pandemic? Like, what? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand. If you are serious about your future, you do not have to choose your partner alone. I'm looking at this comment. The male figures in your family are your best assets, your uncles, fathers, male cousins, and brothers. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Absolutely. And, as I said earlier, Kevin Samuels had even made this point where 40, 50 years ago, the men in the community, that women would have seen as viable partners, would have seen as, good husband options. Now these women these days will look at them and be like, oh, well, he's not this enough. He's not that enough. Like, they'll completely disqualify them, but they'll disqualify them for reasons that aren't even really worth anything. Like, why are you going to disqualify somebody because of their height? Or why are you going to disqualify somebody because, I don't know, he doesn't look a certain way? Like, yeah, okay, I understand you wanted to be attractive to your person, but I'm like, looks alone won't sustain a relationship long term. Like, you actually do have to have character, or you do actually have to have a good work ethic, or you actually do have to be respectable. Like, those qualities, I think, are a lot more important. And we used to live in a time where that was, people knew that, a man that could keep his word, a man that was a hard worker, or a man, that was respectable, like that, those were actually considered qualities to pursue, not a man who was, over 6 feet, or a man that, I don't know, wore really nice shoes. Because, nowadays we can get so fooled by the look or the appearance of luxury. All a guy needs to do right now, if he really wants to fool a woman, and he just has to go get a credit card and buy a whole bunch of different stuff and flash. That's all he has to do, is just, go flash and portray an image and lie a few times. And actually, some men do. Some men literally go do that because they know that woman will fall for it. And it's kind of sad that so many of us will. But that doesn't mean that that's going to sustain a relationship long term. That doesn't mean that those are the qualities necessary to actually build a family or a community. And that's the problem, because many of us have been told that that's all that matters, is the image is all that matters. Rent a Benz. You're right. Literally renting a Benz. I mean, even down to the amount of influencers even that go and they'll, I don't know, they may go rent a home, or they may go to like a vacation once every 5 years and then take as many pictures as possible and then try to make it seem as if they're in a different, country every week. Like, people front all the time. People literally front all the time. And it's exhausting and it's expensive. And it's like, again, y'all, we are in a pandemic. And so all we have to do is look at the numbers and know that the amount of luxury that we see online compared to the numbers that we actually see, in these reports, they don't add up. So let's just stop fronting. Like, let's just like, the sooner we can get out of that, then the sooner people can actually move forward. And by the way, you are a lot better off working with a person bringing your resources together and figuring out how to make that work versus trying to figure it out on your lonesome. Like, you are a lot better doing that, for sure. Airbnb and rentals go a long way. Facts. Like I said, I literally know people who have done this, who have borrowed cars, who have borrowed friends' places and been like, hey, like, can I use this place for a day or two? And have fronted and been like, I'm here. It's a shame you are making too much sense. I'm having a logical overdose. Oh man, that's hilarious. I guess logic is hard to come by these days. Um, yeah, you can put a financially responsible person in front of our generation and they will think that he's struggling. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. You know, that speaks to also something else I think I want to address a little bit later on, but you know, to kind of just sum it up, how many of us have been told that we deserve luxury and that we deserve the luxury that our parents worked 30, 40 years for. Like I was talking to, again, the lady I was talking to yesterday, and she's in her 60s now. And so she's been working for longer than I've been alive. And yeah, now she has a beautiful home in a nice part of the Bay Area, and her and her family are doing well. But she worked hard. She grew up in the projects as a young girl, and her and her husband, they didn't have a lot of money. They worked and they built to the point that they are today. They weren't always living in a nice house. They weren't always in the place they are now to be able to be a little bit more flexible, to be able to go on trips and enjoy those things. I mean, they're in their 60s. They're about to retire. She's been working for over 40 years. You know what I mean? But I think what will happen is she understood back when she was younger that I'm going to eventually get to this point. But she didn't have any expectation when she was 25, with a newborn, that she deserves to go to the Hamptons every year, or that her and her husband should be driving a Mercedes Benz. She didn't have that expectation. She knew, like, maybe I will eventually get there, but it's going to require time and patience. And the problem is that many of us women, we've not been told that. Somehow we've been told that we deserve luxury. No one deserves luxury. No one really deserves anything like that. Like, we get what we work for. And I think all good things we get are truly a blessing from God. Even the ability to breathe is a blessing from on high. But it's like, you don't deserve luxury just because you breathe. That's something you work for. And I think it's that mindset sometimes that really causes women to maybe pass on good opportunities, maybe pass on a guy who really is worth working with, or pass on a guy who does have a really great character. He has a strong work ethic, or yeah, maybe he's not flashy, but that's because he's trying to, buy a house, or he's trying to build. And, they don't see that because maybe he's not flashing the bins. He's not throwing money on silly things, and they bypass it because they're like, oh, well, my friend, I saw this Instagram post. I saw this Instagram post of my best friend. Oh, she got proposed to in, I don't know, Maui or in Fiji, and I deserve a man like that. And there's all this silly comparison going on. And it really does creates this appetite for wealth. It creates an appetite for wealth that's unrealistic. Because like I said, me, as someone who's earlier in my career, I can't compare myself to somebody who's been working twice my age. I shouldn't do that. Like, of course, someone who's in their 60s is likely going to have more than me, and they're going to have, more luxury, or they're going to have more, like, I shouldn't expect that I can go and every single time have a first class. Because, like, even if you go and looking like first class, you go in airplanes, most of the time those people are like in their 60s. You know what I mean? Like, and again, it's not to say you can't aspire for things. It's not to say you can't be successful when you're young, because you can. I think many of us can, but I think it's healthy to set expectations. And the expectation, it shouldn't be that I have luxury now, I deserve luxury now. And those women who go for that and who are who are only willing to settle for that, it's severely going to limit your choices. And it's going to set you up for a lot of failure, because most women, again, are actually not prepared for the lifestyle associated with being with a man that has those amount of resources. Because again, that opens up a whole nother world of things that many people haven't been prepared for. and don't even really want. But again, that's another subject. Anyways, I know I've been going on for a bit. Anyways, for those of you who have been watching, thank you so much. Please, again, hit the subscribe button, like, comment. Please send me some love if you want to hear some more content like this. I'd love to be able to provide more content, hopefully at a better quality. I'm just trying to hoping to get things off the ground. So, you can always send in your support on Venmo or Cash App, ChezCharde. I also have super chats. So I, really appreciate those of you who have sent some love in. And as always, my goal is to, I want to start to build an alternate route, if you will. I want to start having other conversations about the ways women and men can work together, the way women can start to trust men again, trust men who are worthy of being trusted. Let's talk about what does it mean to be feminine and be healthy. What does it mean to operate in your full femininity and still, have fun maybe in your career, or still have fun doing these different things, but you're not sacrificing who you are, because it is possible. It's possible to have a relationship. It's possible to be a good asset to your community. It's possible to be in a loving relationship with your husband and be a wife and be a mom and still do those other things too. But it has to be done within reason. You can't do everything at once. And priorities have to be set. Priorities have to be set. And we have to know, I think, fundamentally, that we do need one another. I don't really care what anybody says. And maybe I will probably be canceled by some pick me haters. But no, we do need one another. I can say personally in my life, and this is something I think I'm still going to sit on more and more, but I've noticed there's a group of women in my life in particular who I love dearly, who they haven't really had a strong male relationship or authority or whatever in their life. And they struggle a lot. I used to believe that, a man and a woman or whatever, if they operated single or they're by themselves, whatever, that they could build their life successfully by themselves, or they could not. I used to truly believe that. But, the more I start to live and noticed certain patterns, and the more, I look at some of my, my older single, and these are especially from my older single female friends who desire to be in a relationship, but that hasn't happened for them yet. And I see the way that they struggle. They struggle a lot. Oftentimes psychologically, finding themselves in situations that are just like, how did you miss that? Not being able to really recognize danger. And this is where I'm like, man, is this, I mean, I've always felt like, yeah, there's certainly value to being in a relationship with a man always, but I'm like, okay, is this what it means? Is this what it means when women operate in and of themselves? Are some of them so fully incapable of recognizing danger that they will walk into a trap and not know it? Like I had one friend tell me, and this will probably be another podcast where she's like, she's now divorced from this guy, but she's like, yeah, I married a white supremacist. This is a Black woman. She's like, I married a white supremacist and had no idea. I'm like, how do you marry a white supremacist? Like, he's literally a part of like a racist biker gang, and she had no idea as a Black woman, no idea. And I'm like, who was in your life to tell you? And I'm talking to some of my guy friends about this, and they're just like, that had to be totally obvious. Like, if you just see tattoos, like there's just certain tattoos or certain things that they do where it's totally obvious. And I'm like, no, what you don't understand sometimes is that like women, I hate to say it, sometimes like women will just, I don't want to say all of us, but many of us will. It'll be like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. He's this, he's that, he's that. Like, you're not asking certain questions because our brains don't work a certain way. And that, I think this goes back to my earlier point where I really do think that we need each other. And generally, it was men who were sent off to war. It was men who were sent off to like hunt and sent off to go do more dangerous things. And maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe men have like a sixth sense, whatever, or they have a certain understanding of danger that some women just don't lack. They lack that understanding. And when that male authority is not there, or that male safety net isn't there, it causes a lot of problems. And I know it may not be popular for me to say this. I know people may totally and completely disagree, but I have literally seen, like, I had another girl talk to me about 2 weeks ago, and she came up to me and she's like, I haven't been able to tell anybody in college. She's a young college age girl. She's like, I haven't been able to tell anybody in college because I think I'm crazy, but I really feel like I need authority in my life. Like, I feel like I need some healthy male authority. Like, I need something. She's like, because I'm struggling. And she literally, she's confiding in me on this. And she's like, I'm kind of embarrassed to say this because I know my friends, they won't understand, but I'm missing something. Something in my life isn't going right and I need help. And I'm talking to her and I'm like, you know what? I actually, like, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think we need to find you some healthy balance here. So I know that was a bit of a rant, but that's okay. It's Bree, I'm a fellow YouTube head as well. Oh gosh, I lost your comment. Everything is so interesting. Yeah, YouTube is YouTube is its own thing. Anyways, this has been longer than I thought, but gosh, I've gotten some good feedback. Thank you guys who have been on here. Like I said, please like, subscribe. If you really appreciate my content and want to see more of it, please feel free to support. You can find me on Venmo or CashApp ChezCharde. I'd love to be able to bring more content like this and have more collaborations, but I'll need your support and able to do it long term. So anyways, if you guys also have any topics or things you'd like me to discuss, always feel free to let me know. I appreciate you guys for listening to me. You literally could be anywhere else and you're here, commenting, watching me go on a rant, and I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. So we will talk. We will be in contact. And yeah, we'll talk later. All right. Take care.